My favorite memory in the Pacific Northwest is getting out and hiking. I love going out and smelling the fresh air, being in the trees, visiting lakes, spending time with my family, and getting in a little bit of good exercise.
Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Christina Kishimoto, and welcome to Under the Flamboyan. I have with me today a colleague from the state of Washington, Alexa Allman. Superintendent Allman is in Deer Park School District. And so she's going to tell us like where Deer Park is and let us learn a little more about that community. But we are so excited to welcome Alexa. She's an incredible leader and colleague, and great to have you, Alexa.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you and happy to be here. What an honor it is to be able to be invited into this interview. I am currently superintendent in the Deer Park School District, and we're about 20 to 25 miles north of Spokane, Washington.
Oh, Spokane. So tell us a little bit about that. Just a lot of our viewers don't even know anything about Washington. So what part of the state is Spokane?
All right. So we are in the other side of Western Washington. So we're in Eastern Washington. Washington state is divided by the Cascade Mountains. So on the west side of Washington, we get very damp, cool, mild weather. And then in Eastern Washington, we get all four seasons. So we have hot summers, cold winters. Right now, it's an absolutely beautiful fall where we've got chilly mornings and warm afternoons. And then we have beautiful springs as well. Having been on both sides in the mountains, there's Washington is just wonderful because you get to experience all of Washington. But Eastern Washington in particular, it's very sunny all four seasons. So it's going to get cold here very shortly, and we'll probably get quite a bit of snow. Very close to many, many lakes. So we can go out and hike and enjoy the outdoors. Lots of skiing areas as well. But I'm a little bit different than urban Spokane, where I'm in rural USA. So lots of farming, very high poverty, very white out here in Eastern Washington. Not a lot of traffic. So we drive on the road, you're driving the actual speed limit, um, and then some. So just it's very, very different. It's a different landscape than what my teaching and administrative experience has been previously, but enjoying it out here very much so.
Oh, it's just a beautiful part of the country. So, Alexa, you are in your third year of
Correct.
superintendency, and I'm wondering if this year feels any different than your first 2 years.
I think it's a lot like being a teacher and or a school administrator. By that third year, you've done your watch, learning, and listening. You kind of know where the staff is at. You built your vision. We built our strategic plan, and now it's really implementing and helping us engage in the continuous improvement as a superintendent. So it's here are our goals, and how are we really going to hold each other accountable to reaching toward and striving toward those goals. And so it's really getting in and doing the good work. It's also revealing what we didn't know, and now that we know needs to be done. And so engaging in that work deeply.
Certainly, everyone who reaches their third year of superintendency feels like, to a certain degree, we can kind of relax into the position. It doesn't feel as new, both the community and the work and our own board, our governance body that we're working with. And at the same time, I think that we have this clarity of vision that starts to develop because we've gotten to know the community well, but we also start to think about what our students are telling us about what they want in their education, in their life, in their world. So is there a Deer Park kind of culture that you would be able to put into words from kind of the perspective of the kids there, the students there, and what they say to you?
Oh, that's a great question. I sit on the high school student advisory council. So we're a small rural public school system. Um, we have about 2,700 students. And so we have one main high school. And so I get to sit on the student advisory council and learn a little bit about them. The one thing about Deer Park is because we are small, all of our students do all things. So they might be involved in FFA and DECA and play football and play basketball and then golf or do track. But they do so many things. Our kids are busy, they're involved in the community. The things that they do compared to what I had access to and opportunities to is amazing. And they do them. They're involved in the community. They are at the school from early in the morning until late at night, no matter the activity. The opportunities for kids to engage in ways outside of the regular school day are amazing and phenomenal, and our kids do it. When I hear what these kids are involved in, it's just amazing. And I'm like, how do you fit academics into your day?
But it
Because
sounds like the whole school, what's offered by the school system and the community is just such a part of their lives, right? And so they
yes,
fully engage, and that sounds wonderful. Where did you go to school? Where
I
were you in one
actually
school system, K-12?
I was not. I actually grew up in Yakima, Washington, so Central Washington, and that was in my K-12 system. And I'm a product of the public schools. I'm very proud of that. I come from a line of educators as well. And then went over to Western Washington after I finished my undergraduate degree at Washington State University. Moved over with well, he's currently my husband, but back then he was my boyfriend. Went back to Western Washington where I taught in a couple of different school districts. I taught elementary and middle school. I went back, got my master's through Western Washington University, and landed in a leadership position where I landed in Bellevue School District for the next 19 years of my educational career. So I served as a middle school assistant principal at a couple of different middle schools, was an elementary principal, then served as an HR director in Bellevue School District. So I grew up a lot in Bellevue, and that's what I like to say. It's an amazing school district. It was a large, urban, very, very diverse school district. So my experiences that I was able to receive was amazing. So I grew as kind of a brand new baby leader and grew up through the system and really appreciate it. It's a great, great system.
It's funny because you and I have some mutual friends in kind of that pass through Bellevue School District. And that's what education is like. You and I didn't even know each other previously and had not had the opportunity to meet. Susana Reyes, who I recently had interviewed and featured under the Flamboyan, she gave me your name and she says, "Oh, we need to bring, Alexa into this network and feature her as well. She's an amazing leader." And I know you and I both know Ivan Durang as a superintendent as well, and other leaders in the state of Washington and in the greater Pacific Northwest. But that's the beauty of education is once you're in this field, there's this network that just grows and grows and grows around you. Do you feel now that you're in the seat that you have a good network of others to turn to pull in, to coordinate with? In terms of some ideas that you have and visions that you have?
Absolutely. I feel very blessed to have this network of superintendents. It's also nice because I've been on both sides of the mountains. So I have my connections in Western Washington, like you mentioned, Dr. Duran, Dr. Pedrosa in Tukwila, Dr. Reyes, Dr. Green in Yakima. I have superintendent connections that I actually built when I was in Western Washington through various connections. I was part of University of Washington Consortium, which was a network of a variety of the school districts. And then now being in Eastern Washington and my educational service district, our ESD 101, we serve 59 school districts. So there's 59 more connections that I've been able to make. So I guess Southwest Washington is probably the one region, and maybe the far Northwest region are the only two areas I haven't been able to build and establish connections because I haven't lived there. But I've got Yakima, I've got the King County area, I've got the Spokane County area, and some of the places in between. But I think that our Washington State Administrator Association does a nice job of bringing us together at the annual conference, the legislative conference. We oftentimes see each other at the state directors conference, and then we do a lot of regional meetings as well. But I do know that, and Heather Talyuk in Issaquah. So the five of us last year were able to connect five Washington State superintendent leaders of color, we were able to connect. And it's just nice to have camaraderie, being able to message one another if we've got a question, if we're doing projects or we need somebody to come in and provide inspiration, where we invite each other to be a part of those also. And it's just comforting knowing that we're all human, we are authentic, we care about kids, we care about our communities, we care about our staff, and that's what really brings us together.
So, Alexa, one of the things I often say is, leadership should never be lonely. There's like a tremendous network of incredible leaders all around us, in our various fields of work, but certainly in the field of education. A lot of our audience members are aspiring leaders from across the country, many in principalships already, or in central office leadership positions, in deputy positions. And so they often want to hear sitting superintendents talk about their story in terms of what was it about your life that made you, on a very personal level, want to become a superintendent. So not career path, but rather what is it that was that trigger for you that said, this is where I can see myself leading. This is who I am.
That's a really good question. I don't think the superintendent position was one I ever aspired to be. In fact, when I went through superintendent school, I was like, I don't think I want that position. And I'll go back to one of your earlier statements about networking. It's absolutely critical that we build those relationships and those networks because this is probably the loneliest job that I've been in. But it's nice to know that there are other people who are experiencing the same situations. And so we can call and consult with any of those peers in our network, which is it's huge and it's super positive. Um, I would say that for me, specifically getting into this position, I actually was fortunate enough to serve as the assistant superintendent before being appointed by the board of directors here in Deer Park. And so why I took this position specifically is because I had a chance to see the school board in action 2 years for 2 years prior to assuming this position. I also had the opportunity as HR director and teaching and learning director because we're a small district. I had both hats on, but I really got to know our employees and all of our labor union groups and really appreciated those relationships that I built within Deer Park School District first. So before going into the superintendent position, I had that connection and that relationship with all of our staff prior. So then being able to work with the board that I had seen in action, their board governance model was super solid. I knew that our board of directors were all in it for kids, all kids, and they were really, their work was focused on students and student learning. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that. So the board of directors, once they interviewed me and appointed me into this position, my predecessor moved to another district. I knew that I wanted to take on that position because I knew where the district was headed. Um, and being a part of it already was very helpful.
I appreciate that you said that you were going through the preparation program and still said, I don't think I want to do this. I think we all go through that and kind of, or some of us go through that and think, especially I think during these times. I'm a university professor as well as running this company, and I love being university professor at University of Southern California because I get to meet aspirant superintendents. Except that our aspirant superintendents nationally are dwindling because there are women who are looking at this going, I'm not sure I want to sacrifice that much. I don't think I want to bang my head on the wall so often. Policy work in education is extremely difficult. Financing has been a challenge nationally. There are, changes in terms of federal perspective on education and whether this is a national policy or whether it should be pushed to the state. And it's just creating all kinds of challenges for us as we push through this time period. And so there are lots of aspiring folks who are saying, I'm not sure that this is the right place I want to be. Oh, I really want this, but why is my timing so bad with the way these times are? And I appreciate that. I think there is something about us when we find ourselves in a superintendent seat that we can connect back to, like, who we were as a child. And I'd love to tap into that a bit and kind of expose Alexa to kind of the world of our aspiring superintendents in terms of what was it about your persona, your personality, your upbringing, that non-education side, the non-preparation side, that was just so much about, I always describe myself as I grew up South Bronx. And so I just had this way of seeing the world, and I wanted to solve and create better spaces and have these beautiful learning spaces for all of us, especially for us children of color who didn't have such beautiful spaces when I was growing up in New York City. And so, what was it about your childhood that you can look back now and say, that's the Alexa that led me to the superintendency?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I was one of those kids who liked to play school. So back in the day when we had dittos and our teachers had all of those dittos at the end of the year, I took those home over the summer and I wanted to teach those dittos and do those dittos for fun. So I'd line up all my stuffed animals and I'd play teacher. And so I always wanted to be a teacher and work with kids. And I also just by nature, I think I'm a hard worker. So I like to set a goal and then I go for it and I'm tenacious and I'm going to push to meet that goal. And that's kind of how I've always been. I also really care about people. I think that given my background, so I was adopted, my parents divorced, and they didn't get along my whole childhood, I think. And so trying to mediate and being the go-between my parents, I was always the negotiator. And I always wanted to make people happy because I needed to make my family happy. And so I was good at negotiating, I guess, between my parents. And what I mean is negotiating the relationship. Um, and so I think that being a people pleaser and being a relationship builder and loving people, being a hard worker, loving playing school, I think all of those maybe contributed to me landing in the position that I landed. I tried because I come from a line of educators, from my stepmom to my dad to my mom. I really tried hard to get out of education. I was like, I got to take a different path. I want to go somewhere different. So I decided that after going into accounting, that wasn't for me. And then I ended up coaching. I was a gymnast myself as a young girl, and so I ended up coaching gymnastics when I came back from college one summer, and I fell in love with working with the kids. They filled me, they inspired me, their energy. I loved it, and so I said, okay, I need to go into education. I need to go into teaching, and then from there, I just continued on that path. I think that I landed in the world of leadership back in the day. I think some of those attributes as a young cheerleader, because I ended up being a cheerleader in high school, some of those attributes were known as bossy or very driven. Um, and so I think and I was selected as a natural, what were they called? Natural leaders when I was a child. And all those now I can go back to thanks to your question and reflect on what is it that brought me to here today? And
Yeah.
I think some of those things now are saying, oh, maybe there were things that led up to me being able to take on this position. And but I think that that's kind of who I am as a person too. I'm tenacious. I'm very goal oriented, hardworking. I want to do the job no matter how long it takes me, but I'll do that through my relationships. I'll do that through being curious and a high level of inquiry and staying engaged with people. Um, yeah, and then just loving the world of education. And I think you alluded to this, but now it is a challenging time. We've got I did not get into education for politics, but I think I'm living in that political world right now. We've got the federal pieces going on, we've got the state pieces going on. They don't always align, and then we've got our local districts going on, which don't align with some of either or both of them. And so we're sitting in this space as a superintendent trying to navigate that. And I guess for lack of better terms, negotiating that with our community.
So we know no one goes into education for politics, and we often, I think, go in naively thinking we can avoid politics, but it's wrought with political agendas, and we learn on the job how to be political and how to manage that space, especially because, as superintendents and as educators across roles, we are policy leaders, right? And the policies are what frame the kind of experiences that the kids get to have in terms of their learning. And as I'm listening to you, I can hear kind of this running strand of Alexa, the learner, like you are the consummate learner as well. You're curious and you want to solve things and you want to work with others. And so you're also this learner, and it comes across as you talk about the kind of things that experiences you had as a child and also who you are as a leader, and just deep appreciation for what you bring to leadership. I want to wrap up by asking the same question I usually ask most of the folks that I bring onto the show, and that is, what's your advice for women who are considering the superintendency? They're driven by the passion of the job. They want to do this work, but they're at this point where they're wondering. The politics are making it very uncomfortable. And so, what's your advice to them today in terms of should they pursue the superintendency?
That's a great question. I would say it's a great question, and I would return the question back to the candidate and say, why do you want to be a superintendent? What is it that inspires you to be in this position? Because it's some tough work. Um, One, I would say know who you are as a leader and stay faithful to that. Because if you don't know, you'll be pushed to question that and what you stand for and what your values are. And going back to your why, I have to come back to this constantly. And I know that it sounds cliche and there's jokes about it, but it's true. I got into education for kids. I am in it to win it for kids, all kids. I chose public education for a reason. And I don't want to give up on any of the kids, and it can be tough. I know that our teachers and our leaders are going through some tough times right now with students with challenging behaviors, and it's my job to be of support to our teachers, to our administrators, and to the kids. And how do we find that win-win? Um, but just going back to our why, I got in this for kids, and so I have to constantly remind myself what is best for kids, and that's our moral imperative. And that's what keeps me going and keeps me in this job, because I think that I can continue to maintain that focus here as a district and help everybody else maintain that focus as well. And that's when we're navigating all of those different spaces politically and social media, and we're trying to run measures for local dollars, like running levies and running bonds and those kinds of things. It's hard. Also, just it depends. Know yourself, right? And in a small district, I wear many hats. So I have transportation, I have maintenance of facilities, I have human resources, I have special education, I have teaching and learning. I manage the public records, but public relations and communications. Um, I've got business. So all of these folks are my direct reports and the board members, and it can be a lot. So know your values, know what you stand for, and be willing to get in and do the hard work, but stay true to yourself at the same time.
So words from Dr. Allman from Deer Park School District in the greater Spokane area in the state of Washington. Thank you so much, Alexa, for being with us today and for being willing to share part of your story. I think stories are so powerful, personal stories that we can share with one another, encourage others to lead as well, especially in such an important seat. And we want to have more women leading in the seat and to have greater access to it. So thank you for your leadership here in Washington, but also across the nation as you continue to network and contribute. Really appreciate you and the impact you're having on children and youth.
Thank you. What a pleasure to meet with you.
And I just want to recommend folks go on to our website, voiceforequity.com, our registration site for When Women Lead, which happens again June 2026. Registration is open, and we love to have our diverse women across the nation gathering with us again. It's a powerful space. Alexa, we will see you there. If I don't see you before then, I'm sure we will see each other in another space here in the great state of Washington. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.